Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our gallery, now that we've modeled all of our artwork and put it into the scene. We're going to go ahead and export this all as individual FBX files using a batch export, rename all of our objects based off of our layers, and start cleaning up the scene in Blender. So a lot to do today. So there's one more thing I want to do before I export this, and I just want to show you something that I've already got set up here. So I've got actually my interior walls and my exterior walls set to different layers. So if I select walls interior and walls exterior here and select objects and then isolate them with the light bulb, isolate, you can see my interior walls are green, my exterior walls are that pink color. I don't have tops on my walls, again, just to cut down on the UV mapping. And I've even kind of got like around the door frames and stuff, a different material, or a different layer. So that way, when I export this, there'll be two separate objects. I can do like white walls on the inside, and if I wanted to do like bricks or something on the outside, I can do that. So yeah, that's just kind of a handy thing. And the way you do it is, let me join them back together just to show you. The way you do it is just by extracting surfaces. So I can go extract surface and then just select the walls and parts that you want on a different layer. So I do that all the way around, extract surfaces, join them back together. So you've got them all on one piece. Nice, see, one piece. And then create a new layer, and we go change object layer, and you can see it turns to green. So now I've got walls interior and walls exterior. So that's just a handy thing for making more design changes available. Also, things that I've done in preparation is I've deleted a lot of faces that you can't really see, so that you don't really need this face underneath. And I'm going to use like a soil, and so I don't want that on my UV map to have a giant area of soil underneath where nobody's going to see. So I went ahead and just extracted the surface and deleted it, and I've done that in several places here. So let me go ahead and show you where I've done it, and maybe there's a couple places I still need to do it. So underneath here I've done it, underneath there I've done it, underneath all of these I've done it. Oh, I haven't done it there. So all you do is extract surface, click on the surface to extract, hit enter, and then delete. And what that does is it just gets rid of unnecessary surfaces. And you can do that for the bottoms and the tops of your walls. You can do that in all different kinds of locations, and it just is going to cut down on the unnecessary information on your UV map. So yeah, just think about what you don't see, extract that surface and delete it. Okay, other things that I've done here in preparation for a motion graphic that I'm going to do in my non-room here, I've created an interior structure here that has, sides all the way around it. This is actually going to be the surface I'm going to apply a motion graphic or a movie video onto. So that is going to go right there. So all you need to do if you're going to do motion graphics is create a surface that has a separate material on it. And if you want to design a TV screen or something like that, you can also design the rest of it. Just make sure that the surface that the motion graphic is going to go on is a separate object named with its own layer. That way you apply like a material your video when we get to the Unreal Engine. You're not going to do anything with it until the Unreal Engine. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so now we are ready to batch export. I'm all about keeping files organized, making things have a flow to them so that if you have to edit things later on, we have an easier time of it. So what I'm going to do is I want to export every single one of these objects as a separate object so that if for some reason I need to change something back here in Rhino, I'm not dealing with all of these objects packaged into one FBX file. So a couple of quick steps. If you have a PC, you can actually just use this batch export command script here,
And you'll find that actually on the YouTube video tutorial that we're watching right now at the top here, or actually right here. So while on a Mac, we can do the rename script, you cannot do the more complicated scripts on a Mac. So therefore, you're going to have to follow the rest of this way of doing it. If you do have a PC, you can just make sure your export settings are set up properly. So I'm just going to show you with just this one thing here. Change it to an FBX file here, and under options, turn these two things off and keep everything else the same here. I'm just going to show this as a test, and then I'm going to hit save. And this pops up again, and I'm just going to hit OK a couple of times. So now that's sticky. So all of those settings for the FBX are set up there that way. The same way that we did the rename button, we're going to right click. This is just for PC people. New button. And then we're going to copy and paste from that line on the YouTube page that I just showed right into here. Do text only, rename it batch export, OK. And then you'll have this button here. And when you click on the button, it will automatically batch export every single file into the folder that you've got it in right now. So unfortunately, it does go into the folder that you've got the Rhino file in. But you can always move those later on. So if I get that whole batch done, I can move that into my FBX file here. But I'm actually going to go ahead and just get rid of all of these because I'm going to show the way that it works for both PC and Mac here. Okay. So if you want to do it for PC and Mac, simply just select the whole thing. You go File, Export Selected, and as an FBX, and then I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to call this FBX all, and then save. And these are my options. I'm going to use the same options here and hit OK. And I don't care about the polygon count. We're going to clean that up in Blender. You just want to have enough to make sure that it's working. All right, so once that's exported, we'll open up Blender. Let me go ahead and do a new file, general. Don't save, I don't need that. Okay, get rid of our elusive cube. I always like to get rid of the light and the camera. I can add them in later on by hitting Shift A, and you'll see camera, lights right there. Boom, boom. Okay, so that way we don't have anything in our scene, and we go File, Import, FBX. Then we go to our file, which is FBX all here. All of these settings are good. Import FBX. Okay, so now we've got all of these, and they are, named properly. Everything is good. These are my artworks, and they're all in subcategories. It's beautifully laid out. No problems whatsoever with the way the FBX is looking here. But I do want to actually make them individual FBXs just so I have them all as separate. Way to do that is make sure it's all selected. Go to scripting up here. And we're going to go to templates, Python, and then we're going to go ahead and go batch export. And make sure you save your file. So save as, and I'm going to call this vor23. And just save it as a Blender file, and then hit play on this. After it's saved and everything is selected, it will start to populate our folder with individual FBX files, the same folder that the Blender file is saved in. Oops, no, yeah, there, okay, sorry. All right, Blender, FBX. There you go. So that's all of them. And you can see every piece of glass, all the frames, anything you want to edit and get rid of, you can play with, and you have them all as FBX files. So then what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to close this. I don't care. I don't even need to save it because I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to import just the FBX file. So just click here, delete, file, import, FBX, go to the folder, and just make sure you do not bring in that FBX all file, which might be right there. Yeah, so I'm going to have to select everything. select all of it, and then go back and find that one and unselect it. Because otherwise you'll have two copies on top of each other and it'll just be a mess. So just Option click or Control click to not have that selected. And then import. And then you can delete that big FBX file, and you've got a file that has all of your objects on them. They're all separate. So if I mess something up here, I can delete it, and then I go back and I re-export it from Rhino into Blender, and I'm only dealing with the individual files, and they're all beautifully done. Okay. All right, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, one other thing I wanted to do is talk about how we can maybe add some materials from Rhino. If we're looking at our object here in rendered view, well, first of all, we can see that I'm not in cycles. It's got awful lighting and stuff, so let's make sure we set that up here. Go to Eevee, change it to cycles, and from CPU, I'm using GPU compute. So now we're ray tracing. Great. There's no light in the scene, so it's going to be dark, but that's fine. I also want to talk about how to maybe make some seamless materials the easy way. So we'll steal them from Rhino. Rhino has a whole bunch of materials that we can use. It's just a matter of how do you get them out of the program, because they're not kept as JPEG files. They're kept as some sort of proprietary Rhino file. But if I go here and let's put this in rendered view here so you can see. If I go here and I say I want to make this object like a dirt material, or even better yet, inside, if I want to use a parquet floor or something in here, I can go to the materials window, hit add here, and then go to import materials from library, and I've got all of these different materials. If you don't have this, you might have to type a texture, unpack textures, or download library textures. That's where you get all of those textures. So if I go create new material, import from here, I'm going to go to flooring, A, B, C, D. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's under architectural, right? Yeah, up at the top here. Floor. Okay, wood. And I'm going to go ahead and go to extra large icons, so I can see the different types of material. And I'm going to do a parquet floor, red, dark, reflective, open. Okay. And I'm just going to click and drag and apply it there. Oh, that's not the one I want. That's not the right one. So we'll just go ahead and delete. Yes. Add. Import material. Architectural. Floor. Wood. Parquet. Dark squares. Open. Apply this material. All right. And I don't really care about anything else. I just want this seamless texture. So with that selected, I'm going to export this as a OBJ file, because the OBJ file actually has the texture separate as a JPEG. So let's go ahead and do that for Motion Builder. Nope, sorry, that's FBX. OBJ right there. Okay, and then I'm just going to call it Parquet and save it and be okay with this. And I don't even care about that, because the only thing I'm taking from this is the floor. So now I know it's there. It's in that folder. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new material just to show you how we do this. First, you always delete the material here because it's applied to everything. Then we go to new, and then I'm going to call it floor. And I'm going to click here and go to image texture. And I'm going to go to open. And it's already in that folder. There it is. So that's the JPEG, open image. And unfortunately, I had the wrong object selected. But that's actually kind of cool. Whatever, parquet floor on there, huh? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new material here. And then I'm just going to get rid of this one. And then I'm going to go inside here. Let's go to standard view. I'm just going to hide some stuff. H. There we go. Remove, add, floor material. Cool. There we go. And now it is time to add some more materials that same way. And I'll be right back once I'm done.
So now if we switch into our rendered view here, we should see materials applied to a couple of locations. Yes. And like I mentioned to you before, the tiling is not going to be quite correct. So we have to fix that before we start messing with the rest of it. Okay, so first things first is we want to go ahead and check out our wireframe here and look at how busy things are. And then we are going to go ahead and add some modifiers, decimate some stuff, do some UV mapping, all of that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to first decimate this object here, and also want to go through and join together all of our meshes too. So if we come through here, we can see there's a few of them that are, maybe not these ones, but there will be some that are going to be separated. Probably not in my artworks here. Actually, I did find one. So glass here is actually broken into individual parts, and it's based on the individual pane. So if you import one layer that has multiple parts that are separated into different UV maps, it's going to be separated. So that's what we're looking at here. So all of the glass is on separate panels here, okay? But the key thing is I wanted to show you is you select all of it and you go Control-J to join them all together. That makes it all one mesh, but it also, in the UV editing window, if we look at it there, you can see it's a UV mess. So you do need to, if you have that situation, make sure to avoid overlapping UVs, we remap it. So you go Smart UV Project, and let's do 0.01, okay, and then hit okay. And that'll give you a new UV map with all of your objects in the right place. When you bring this into the Unreal Engine, otherwise, you're going to have an issue there. Okay, so now I've got all of this selected. I'm going to go to my settings, add a modifier. The modifier I'm going to use is decimate. I'm going to do a planar decimation. I am in object mode here. And you see that it cleaned up a bit of that. I do not want to apply that yet because I'm going to actually decimate multiple things. So if I select this, by shift clicking on it, pick the things I want to decimate. I'm not going to decimate really organic things. I did make this structure pretty flat on purpose so that I could clean it up quite a bit. The domes I'm going to leave. I'm not actually going to do that. Yeah, let's hide everything that we don't want to use. H just hides stuff. So my organic sculptures, I'm going to hide. And even that one. Flat panes, you can definitely decimate. So I'm going to hide you. Hide you. Okay, the rest of it is all very flat, so it should be able to decimate okay. Oh, and the domes as well. Let's hide the domes. There it is. Okay, so now I can select everything and then shift click on the ground plane here that has the modifier modifier already applied. And when you have that orange, that is meaning that you've got this is the primary selection. If I'm going to copy anything to the others, it's going to come from that. So I can go to Object, and then I can go to Link Transfer, and I can go to Copy Modifiers. Give it a second. You can see all of that geometry is now gone, gone, gone. Cool. So now I'm going to switch back into a more rendered mode so that I can look and just see how things are working. So if I Control I, that does a inverse selection, and then H, I also want to check this out because this one is one that might have an opportunity to look funky, and it looks fine. So I'm good with that. So now I believe it's Alt H brings everything back. Okay, cool. So that reduces the file size quite substantially when we re-export all this stuff as FBXs later on to bring into the Unreal Engine. And it also lowers the overall size of things in here. So if we hit, all right. So next thing that we want to do is select everything and then go to Object, Convert to Mesh. And when we convert an object to a mesh, all of those copied modifiers, see it just disappeared over here, that now has applied. So we are now optimized. Okay. So that is the basics of importing. And then next we are going to clean up and add materials to some of the spaces and do some basic baking.